Adrift tells the film taken from a true story. That will truly make anyone traumatized. How not traumatized if these young lovers are stranded in the middle of the ocean without knowing the direction, also beaten by a storm, and adrift in the middle of the sea for almost 2 months, and ended with the reality that would make you really surprised. This true story began in 1983 on the island of Tahiti, which is located in the southern part of the Pacific Ocean. We were introduced by a girl named Tammy Oldham Ashcraft from San Diego, California. She is a young girl who is traveling after work as a chef at a ship has been completed, and now freely goes from one place to another place to find a new job. In this island, Tammy spends time having fun, enjoying the beauty of the blue sea of the island, which is part of the France Polynesia. After a few days in Tahiti, she finally got a relationship that gave a job as a ship cleaner. Then arrived a ship owned by Richard, named Maya Luga, from the language of Swazi, which means Heaven Explorer, and this was the beginning of the meeting of Tommy and Richard. The next morning, when Richard was repairing the ship, Tammy approached to help, and Richard invited to dinner as a form of gratitude. That night when they dinner, Richard told about many things to tell, that hunger, fatigue, and dehydration in the middle of the sea could make hallucinations, but that did not reduce the feeling of still loving the ocean. Then, Tammy was offered to explore the ocean together. Of course she agreed, because the principle of the two of them was the same, liking freedom and ocean. So they spent time together to explore and visit the exotic, every place recorded in the form of photos. Also gave a sign with the name of the place. After time passed, their relationship was getting closer, and now became a pair of lovers. While in the market, Richard told there was a flower have named Frangipani, which means the flower of love. But according to my best friend, Adian Calloway, flower of love should be money. After that, they had dinner followed by romantic dance. The next day when they will go home from shopping, suddenly someone called Richard. It turned out that it was Peter and Christine who were looking for Richard, because Christine's father, who was sick in London, so they had to immediately fly to England. Then asked Richard for bringing their ship named Hazana from Tahiti to San Diego, California, United States, and his rewards, $10,000 and VIP tickets to return to Tahiti. But Richard asked 2-ticket VIP, and Christine agreed with that.
Done. And done.
A few days later, after the preparation was done, Richard and Tammy brought Hazana to return to California in the afternoon. That night, Richard revealed by proving the seriousness to apply for Tammy on the Hazana ship.
It's perfect.
Then, one afternoon, suddenly the weather was cloudy and a bird landed on the ship. According to Richard, the beach should be quite far away. It is impossible for this bird to fly into the middle of the sea if not exposed to the wind. Then, there is a warning from the radio. If the Raymond storm with a speed of 12 knots in the coordinate of 12 degrees north latitude and 107 degrees western latitude above the Pacific Ocean. Realizing that there was a danger, Richard immediately calculated the coordinates of the Raymond storm on the map with their current distance and location. Unexpectedly, the storm was right in front of them then. Tammy suggested to cut the route to the north, which means that the journey continued to pass through the side of the storm, and Richard agreed that plans. But apparently, their estimation was wrong, because with the increase in the speed of the storm, Raymond compared to the speed of the ship that could not reach the other side, it made the Hazana ship trapped in the storm. Tammy tried to seek help through radio communication, but there was no response from the rescue team on the nearest coast. The situation became more dangerous because the water waves more ferocious, and Richard forced Tammy to enter shelter on the ship. Suddenly, the impact of the high waves made the ship upside down whatever was there. After fainting for 27 hours, Tammy finally woke up and realized Richard was not in the ship. So she immediately came out of a very chaotic ship and pulled the rope tied to Richard's body, but only found a loose hook. After that, Tammy tried again to find help through radio communication. It turns out that all electric equipment and engine ships have been totally damaged, making she very depressed, not know what to do. After that, she saw the lifeboat next to the ship, no longer thinking might be used by Richard. Finally, she saw not far from the ship, there was a lifeboat that was upside down, and Richard was there. Because the distance of the ship is quite far, and the engine ship that is damaged, she trying to repair the ship so that it can move with the help of the wind.
Here we go, girl. Stay. Doing good.
After the distance of the ship and Richard were close enough, then Tammy quickly tied his body and then jumped to save Richard. This rescue mission is truly draining because Tammy must be able to survive so that both of them do not sink. With the rest of the energy, Richard finally succeeded in being pulled onto the ship, which turned out to be a broken feet and ribs. This condition automatically became like a paralyzed person, but a love could make them strong to survive.
Exhale for me. Oh my God.
On the second day, Tammy tried to repair the ship and hoped at least until there was help. Then Tammy tried to check with equipment and maps to ensure their current location, and turned out to deviate far 18 degrees from the main route, and that means their location was not passed by any transportation.
We're gonna die out here.
Tammy gathered all the remaining food and drink, put in one bag, and got the peanut butter he liked.
Oh my God.
On the fifth day, Tammy returned to check the location of the ship
Could hit San Diego in 25 days.
that had come out of the main route as far as 60 miles made. She's suspicious why the ship could move. So Tammy plans to enter the water and find out that the sails makes the water wave pushing the ship moving further north. So she tried to pull the sails and succeed in doing it. 10 days passed, Tammy found some medicine and antibiotics for wounds, and then checked Richard's broken ribs, and it turned out that his stomach had turned black. Then she tried to open the bandage at Richard's feet and treat it, even though Tammy knew it would not be able to cure broken bones. Tammy realizes that the stock of clean water and food is limited, which can only last 1 week. Richard suggested that Tammy hunting fish to save food. Tammy refused because vegetarianism made the two of them debate, but Tammy was finally willing to hunt fish. Even though never do that, Tammy repeatedly tried to get fish, but always failed to make it very frustrated. Day after day, they passed without hope, until finally the rain without a storm made Tammy very happy, also trying to collect as much water as possible for the supply of drinking. However, the rain made the conditions in the ship full of water. Day after day only made it even more discouraged, because since they were stranded in the sea of the Pacific Ocean, there had been no sign of any help. Until one night on the 29th day, when they slept, suddenly Tammy woke up because there was a large ship approaching. So she quickly took a flare gun and shot into the air. However, the ship only passed them without showing any response. Then aware of Richard, if Tammy was hallucinating. On the 33rd day, Tammy felt that he was completely discouraged and gave up, and then remembered Richard's words, that fatigue, hunger, and dehydration in the middle of the ocean could make hallucination. So at that time, she realized that Richard, who was saved in the lifeboat and all the moments previously passed, turned out to be just hallucinations. Because of the real reality, when the ship was turned upside down waves and Tammy fell into the ship, it turned out that Richard was thrown and then fell into the ocean in the middle of the Pacific Ocean. This made Tammy cry and realize that Richard had disappeared forever. So she must survive whatever happens, so that Richard is not sad by violating taboo as a vegetarian and eating fish. On the 41st day, a bird suddenly appeared on a boat, and it was a bird from the land, as Richard had said.
You're back. What are you doing?
And sure enough, there was an island, and then Tammy used a flare gun and responded by fishing boat. Finally, Tammy was rescued and hospitalized in Hylux, Hawaii Islands. After a few weeks, the condition had improved. Tammy going to Tahiti to spend all the beautiful moments and memories when with Richard, who was accompanied by frangipani flowers who had dried on Maialuga. The final review of the fact of this film is Richard Sharp was hit by a storm, Raymond from the ship, and then sank and died at the age of 33 years. Tammy Oldham Ashcraft survived alone for 41 days at the age of 24 years. Several documents and newspaper news were published during the evacuation and after evacuation. Until the film was published, Tammy still loved the ocean and never stopped sailing. I am Fox, and thanks for watching.